The doors are boarded up and there's signs that say "Pardon our mess." The owner says there's about $3,000 to $4,000 worth of damage. Before 6 this morning, they got calls about a naked man in the Trader Joe's parking lot. They say when they arrived, he ran to this nearby neighborhood. Ruby Frankie is here at the correctional facility tonight. She rose to fame for her YouTube channel. 8 passengers. Now she will be going to prison for pleading guilty. It's the closest law enforcement would let me get to the dump truck, but an aerial view will show you where the truck went into the water. Got a chair stuck in a tree, and there are rooftops on the ground. Driving through this town, you're literally driving through walls of snow on each side. They told me that Eli was actually just grabbing this treat. He was not far from his home. He was on his bike when he was hit. And I sometimes think little things like this kind of remind us how you never know when something's gonna go wrong. Since May, a Midvale family's been dealing with this. A neighbor, Catherine Smith, uses racial slurs and derogatory language when she's near their home. One video even shows the family's son covering his ears as Smith drives by.
She has no reservation about using the F word. She has no reservation about using the N word.
Civil rights attorney Tyler Ayers is representing the family.
She has no reservation about using them at children. Not even just in front of children, but directly at them.
Ayers says the mom tried to talk to Smith and asks her kids to be left alone.
Do not talk to the kids.
But this viral video shared on TikTok shows things escalate. In it, you see Smith poke the woman in the stomach and reference her unborn baby.
Get the baby out of there.
She's expecting a baby any day now. And hopefully that child doesn't have to grow up hearing these things.
Ayers says the family has reached out to HOA and Unified Police several times.
It's the pain that this family's having to go through after they bought their house. Children should never be subjected to this. Nobody should be subjected to this.
Neighbor Aaron Connor says he's witnessed Smith using racial slurs.
So I ran over to her and just said, hey, this isn't the 19th century. You can't do that.
I knocked on Smith's door, but she wasn't home.
Oh, it's terrible. I mean, the kids are super cute. They love my dog. And whenever we're out in the summer, they're always wanting to play, and they seem like really sweet, good kids.
Do you feel safe walking and biking in the streets in the area?
When I am running, I feel like sometimes cars don't take the necessary precaution to distance themselves from me.
Crossing the street on a Lime scooter, and a car just came and hit her.
I asked a simple question.
It's kind of you taking a leap of faith that they're gonna see you and slow down for you.
13th East seems to be one of the spots for pedestrians and bikers that doesn't seem to be super safe.
For the most part, when I bike, it does get a little hairy.
Even Transportation Director John Larson wants to make our roads safer for pedestrians. And the numbers agree. Mayor Aaron Mendenhall says there was 26 traffic-related deaths in the city last year.
It's an unthinkable number. It's unconscionable.
And for too long, we've acted like it's just a part of life. It really doesn't have to be.
For John, it's personal.
My son was actually hitting a crosswalk last year.
So Salt Lake City started some smaller changes, like adding these flashing beacons at crosswalks.
Kind of have an irregular pattern that get drivers' behavior, and they have like a radio signal so they can talk to each other across the streets.
Increased signage are popping up at crosswalks, especially near schools.
That say, like state law, yield to pedestrians.
Also, leading pedestrian intervals are popping up, where the pedestrian gets a head start here while the left turn signal stays red a bit longer.
And that's particularly helpful when you have left turns. Those are particularly dangerous because when people, they're turning left, they're just looking for a gap in traffic, but they don't always look for someone in the crosswalk.
But what about larger projects? John says they're narrowing roads to create more protected bike paths like the one I'm standing on. He says this creates more of an urban trail feel. Do you think you can stop people from distracted driving? Because that's obviously a huge issue.
No, and that's partly where the multidisciplinary approach I think is really helpful. And so I think giving more tools to law enforcement.
0 deaths. Is that really possible?
Yeah, why not? I mean, even one traffic-related fatality is too much to accept. And so our goal has to be 0, and we are looking to other cities who have gone down this path a little farther than us, who are seeing some improvements.
When Eric Eric Shea noticed development on the construction site next door grow bigger and bigger. He walked over to the excavator, saying he was nervous about how close this drop-off was getting to his home.
The excavator's response was, yeah, me too. Every time I take a shovel load, I think that Porsche is going to come down on top of me.
Then Eric says they captured photos when one of their trees fell in the hole.
It took part of your fence and a landscaping rock with it. Basically standing on the property line here, you can see that it's encroached over the property line and into our property here.
Eric and his fiancée reached out to architect Bess Wiersma.
When Diane and Eric first sent me the pictures, I did literally jump out of a meeting because I was shocked.
Looking at the site now,
I think any professional person in the building industry would be disturbed by what they see here.
since those original photos we showed you, the developers have shoved a lot of soil up against the original drop-off. But as I'm standing here, I can hear the soil kind of moving and dropping down.
And I think it's only been aggravated by further unstable dirt being pushed up to kind of mask the over excavation.
I reached out to the city of Draper. They didn't want to do an interview, but responded with a statement saying in part, the city notified the contractor that no further work is to be done on the south side of the lot until a work plan is received by the city's building department. The plan is reviewed and permission is given. Also, all work from that point on will be required to be directed and observed by a geotechnical engineer. I gave developer Ben Norman with City Point Homes a call. I just wanted to check with you if you guys had any plans for what's next.
Yeah. We do. We have a geotechnical engineer looking forward to plan forward for us.
Do they see any concerns with the way the property is right now?
They didn't think it was super urgent the way it sits right now, but yeah, they're just giving us their calculations on how they would proceed to dig it and stabilize.